In the quiet town of Ashfield, where mornings unfolded slowly under a pale sun, the corner diner stood as a timeless fixture. Faded red booths lined the walls, and the scent of fresh coffee mingled with bacon grease that had soaked into the counters over decades. Every weekday at exactly 7:30 a.m., Earl Whitman arrived. At 81 years old, the Vietnam veteran moved with deliberate steps, his back straight despite the ache in his knees. His faded army cap sat proudly on his silver hair, and his eyes, sharp and kind, carried stories he rarely shared. That morning was no different. Earl slid into his usual booth by the window, nodding to Maggie, the waitress who'd served him for 20 years. She poured his black coffee without asking, and he unfolded his newspaper, settling into the rhythm of eggs over easy and toast. The diner hummed with familiar faces, truckers grabbing quick bites, locals chatting about the weather, and a young couple in the corner sharing pancakes. Then the door swung open with a forceful bang. In strode Trevor Kane, a local troublemaker in his mid-30s, tattooed arms bulging from a tight shirt, his face twisted in perpetual anger. He'd been drinking the night before, and his bloodshot eyes scanned the room for someone to dominate. His gaze landed on Earl, who had glanced up briefly before returning to his paper. Trevor sauntered over, his boots thudding heavily. "Hey, old man," he snarled, loud enough for the whole diner to hear. "That cap. You actually fight in that war, or just play dress up?" Snickers erupted from his two buddies at the counter, egging him on. Earl lowered his paper slowly, meeting Trevor's eyes with calm steadiness. "Son, I served 2 tours. Respect the cap if you can't respect the man." The words were quiet, but they cut through the air. Trevor's face reddened. He wasn't used to backtalk, especially from someone he saw as frail. The diner fell silent, forks paused mid-air, conversations died. Maggie froze behind the counter, her hand hovering over the phone. "You think you're tough, Grandpa?" Trevor leaned in, his breath sour. Earl didn't flinch. "I asked you a question, vet." When Earl simply picked up his coffee and took a sip, Trevor's rage boiled over. With a swift, vicious motion, his open hand cracked across Earl's face. The slap echoed like a gunshot. Earl's head snapped to the side, his cap tumbling to the floor. A red welt bloomed instantly on his weathered cheek. Gasps filled the room. The young couple stared in horror, a trucker half rose from his seat but thought better of it when Trevor's buddies glared. No one moved to help. Trevor laughed cruelly, picking up the cap and tossing it onto Earl's plate. "That's for talking back." Earl retrieved his cap slowly, placing it back on his head without a word. His eyes held no fear, only a deep sadness. He signaled Maggie for the check, his voice steady. The diner remained frozen in shock as Trevor strutted back to his friends, boasting loudly. Outside, unbeknownst to anyone inside, a mechanic across the street had witnessed the whole thing through the window. He knew Earl, and more importantly, he knew Earl's son, Caleb. A quick call was made. An hour ticked by in tense silence within the diner. Trevor lingered, nursing a soda, reveling in his power. Then, the low rumble began. It grew into a thunderous roar that vibrated the windows and rattled the coffee cups. Harleys. Dozens of them. The door to the corner diner creaked open, and the atmosphere shifted like a storm front rolling in. First came the scent of leather and engine oil, then the heavy tread of boots. Caleb Whitman, Earl's estranged son for years but reconciled through quiet respect, stepped inside. At 45, he was broad and imposing, grease perpetually under his nails from the garage he ran. But it was the men flanking him that commanded silence, a dozen Hell's Angels, their vests emblazoned with the infamous patches, faces hardened by roads and loyalty. The bikers filled the doorway, their presence alone enough to make Trevor's bravado evaporate. Caleb's eyes scanned the room, landing on his father. The red mark on Earl's cheek ignited something fierce in him, but he kept it leashed, for now. Earl looked up, surprise flickering before settling into calm. "Caleb," he said softly. "Didn't expect company." Caleb crossed the diner in long strides, kneeling beside his father's booth. His voice was low, controlled. "Dad. Who did this?" Before Earl could answer, Trevor's chair scraped back. He tried for defiance, but his voice cracked. "What's this?" Old man called his biker pals. The Hell's Angels spread out subtly, not aggressively, but their sheer size blocked exits and filled space. One with a long beard cracked his knuckles idly. Another stared at Trevor with unblinking eyes. Caleb stood slowly, turning to face Trevor. The thug was backed against the counter now, his buddies suddenly very interested in their shoes. "You put your hands on my father," Caleb said, each word measured. "An 81-year-old veteran who fought for this country while you were still in diapers." Trevor swallowed hard. He mouthed off. The room held its breath. Caleb stepped closer, towering. Behind him, the angels shifted, ready but waiting for a signal. Maggie whispered prayers under her breath, the young couple clutched hands. Earl's voice cut through the tension. "Caleb. Enough." He stood shakily, placing a frail hand on his son's arm. The touch was gentle but firm. "Let it go, son. Violence doesn't fix disrespect. It just breeds more." Caleb's fists clenched, veins bulging. He wanted to unleash everything, the years of worry for his dad, the anger at a world that forgot veterans. But his father's eyes held wisdom earned in jungles far away. Slowly, the fire in Caleb dimmed. He turned back to Trevor, voice like gravel. "Apologize. Now." Trevor, pale and trembling, muttered, "Sorry, sir." Louder. "And mean it." "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have touched you." Earl nodded once. "Accepted. Learn from it, boy." The angels relaxed, some even chuckling softly in respect. Caleb helped his father sit, then signaled the group. They ordered coffees all around, the diner slowly thawing. The young man from the couple approached Earl shyly. "Thank you for your service, sir." His voice shook with newfound courage. As engines revved outside later, Earl patted Caleb's shoulder. "Proud of you, son. Strength isn't always in the fist." Caleb smiled faintly. "Learn from the best." The diner buzzed again, but with a different energy, respect, restored dignity, and a story that would echo through Ashfield for years.